There is a peculiar, starry silence that hangs over the ruins of ancient Sparta, a silence that speaks of a brotherhood that defied the very laws of life and death. We look up at the night sky and see Paternsa hunters, bears, Dragonsa, but few constellations hold a promise quite like the twins. To the ancients, they were not merely distant suns, but the eyes of ever-watchful guardians, the divine saviors who appear when the storm is at its worst. Their story is one of the strangest in the Greek canon, for it is not a tragedy of hubris, nor a war of titans, but a romance of absolute loyalty between two men who shared a soul, but not a destiny. To understand them, we must look to the harsh, rocky soil of Lacedaemon, to a world that valued the collective iron will of the phalanx over the desires of the individual. This was Sparta, the city of the dual kingship, a civilization built on a paradox. And into this paradox were born two brothers, Castor and Pollux, though the world remembers the Roman echo of their names, Castor and Pollux. They were the Dioscuri, the sons of Zeus, bound by a bond tighter than the shield wall. But their beginning was a fracture in reality. Their mother, Leda, was the queen of Sparta, a woman of such beauty that she caught the roving eye of the father of gods, Zeus. He came to her not as a mortal, but as a magnificent swan, drifting across the cool surface of the river Eurotas. From that union, she bore two eggs. From one hatched Polyduses, son of Zeus, immortal, divinely radiant, possessing the terrible, glowing strength of the gods. From the other hatched Castor, son of Tyndareus, Leda's mortal husband, a man of flesh and blood, destined to age and to die. They were identical in face, yet opposite in essence. One belonged to the earth, the other to the heavens. Yet, in the true fashion of Sparta, this difference only forged a stronger alliance. They were the greatest of heroes, two halves of a single, perfect warrior. They did not keep their gifts to themselves. Where the myths speak of monsters and glory, the Dioscuri brought civilization and order. They were not just killers, they were builders. They sailed with the Argonauts on the first ship, the Argo, seeking the Golden Fleece. It was during this voyage that their divinity shone brightest. A sudden, violent storm threatened to shatter the hull and drown the heroes. But as the waves roared, a divine light flared above the mast. Two stars appeared in the daylight sky. The storm vanished instantly. The sea turned calm as glass. The sailors knew then. The twins were the saviors of sailors, the Soters, masters of the winds and waves. It is said that after that day, Saint Elmoa Asphyria, the blue electricity that dances on ship masts during a storm, is the visible sign of their presence, still walking the decks to save those in peril. But the shadow of mortality is long, and no act of heroism can stave off the final judgment. The Brothers of fate turned during a feud over Cattleya, perhaps a trivial thing for such great men. But in the ancient world, wealth was life. They clashed with their cousins, Idas and Lynceus. Idas was a man of brute force, Lynceus a seer whose eyes could see through stone walls and the earth itself. The conflict was brutal. In the grim, dry heat of the countryside, the cousins fell upon one another. Castor, the mortal brother, fell. Lynceus slew him with a spear, driving the bronze through his chest. Polyduses, the immortal son of Zeus, went berserk. He did not retreat. He did not mourn. He unleashed the divine lightning of his bloodline. He chased down Idas and struck him down with a thunderbolt that rent the earth. He returned to his Brothra's body, but the cold reality of his nature crashed down upon him. Castor was gone. The light had left his eyes. Polyduses could weep, he could rage, but he could not die. Immortality, once a gift, became a curse of eternal separation. Here the myth takes a turn that breaks the laws of the cosmos. Polydeuces, burning with a grief that transcended logic, climbed the heights of Mount Olympus. He did not go to feast. He went to beg. He fell before his father, Zeus, and made a demand unheard of in the annals of the gods. Take my immortality. Give it to him. Let me die so that Castor may live. The thunder god was moved. The love between the brothers was a power greater than the gods themselves. Zeus struck a bargain, a compromise woven into the fabric of the stars. He would not undo death, nor would he condemn a god to die. Instead, he offered them a shared existence. One day in the light of Olympus, the next in the dark shadow of the underworld. They would trade places, eternally oscillating between the living and the dead, never together, yet never truly apart. And so, they were placed in the heavens as the constellation Gemini. Look for them in the winter sky, two bright stars standing side by side at the head of the archer. They stand there as the patron saints of brotherhood, the embodiment of the oath that binds men together in a shared fate. They were revered above all others in Sparta, worshipped in the form of twin beams of wood, called dokana, symbols of stability and support. Their story was not one of conquest, but of the sanctity of the bond. To the Greeks, they represented the ideal of philotia, the deep love between friends. In a world of shifting alliances and brutal politics, the Dioscuri were the proof that loyalty could outlast death itself. They were the cavalry that charged to the aid of the city, the calming presence on a raging sea, the assurance that no one needs to face the dark alone. We see them still, flashing in the blue fire of a lightning rod, or hovering over the rigging of a ship in a hurricane. They are the reminder that we are not solitary creatures, that our strength is found in the person standing next to us. They were two men, one mortal and one divine, who chose to share a destiny rather than rule alone. In the end, the gods may control the thunder and the rain, but it's the love we hold for one another that turns the chaos of the stars into a pattern we can name and a story we can never forget.